also the floodlighting of lighthouses, and he is involved in the development of a goniospectroradiometric system for measuring pulsed LED lights. Please welcome Malcolm, who will speak on e-navigation, the role of visual aids to navigation. Take it away.
Thank you, Omar. Good morning, everybody. It's a real honour for me to be here, and especially to see so many friends and colleagues who I've worked with over the past 4 years. This morning I'd like to tell you a little bit about the future of visual aids navigation in an e-navigation world.
We will try something else then. We'll take the next speaker and to see if we can fix this thing about the presentation. Could you please switch to the next speaker in the control room? Is anybody there? Could you please switch to the next speaker, please? Which is Mr. Mike Spade. Anybody up there? Okay. There it is. Okay, very good. The next speaker then is Mr. Mike Spain. Mr. Spain joined the Northern Lighthouse Board in April 2007 as a business development manager. Early career was in the technical safety market, working across industrial sectors, but heavily involved in the offshore oil and gas industry. Laterally, he worked in the technical textile and glass fiber industry, developing products for everything from irrigation pipes to racing yachts and wind turbines. Currently, he is involved in marketing the spare capacity in the board's assets, to obtain best return for stakeholders. The title of the presentation is Navigational Marking of Offshore oil and gas platforms during and after decommissioning. So, Mike, would you please take the floor away?
Right, fingers crossed that the technology does work. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Chairman. Our presentation this morning, as said, is the navigational marking of offshore oil and gas platforms during and after decommissioning. This paper was prepared in cooperation with Bjorn Erik Krosnes of the Norwegian Coastal Administration and Morten Christensen of Savik Information System. What we're going to look at this morning when considering navigational marking during and after decommissioning is the age of the offshore oil and gas industry, the requirement to decommission structures as they come to the end of their life, the problems associated with marking such structures, a few solutions which have been developed already, and to summarise, we'll have a look at a case study of the Frigg field, as this was the first deployment of such systems in the North Sea. So looking first at the age of the industry. It's estimated there are roughly 6,800 oil and gas platforms operating worldwide at any one time, so quite a significant number of installations out there. Offshore drilling is not a new phenomenon. It's actually been around for over 100 years, but it was in the 1970s and through to 1995 that we saw the main expansion of oil and gas exploration into the offshore arena, primarily at that time into the Gulf of Mexico and into the North Sea. So 40 years on, we're now having to face the issues associated with an aging infrastructure, since it was always anticipated that cessation of production would be at or around the 30-year mark. With this in mind, as wells come to the end of their productive life, there will be a worldwide need to decommission approximately 100 platforms a year through to 2030, so not an insignificant challenge. So, as these aging leviathans come to the end of their working lives, we should first consider the regulatory framework governing the requirement to decommission. So please bear with me while we go through the legislation, because I know some people like legislation. Starting with Article 60 of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, which governs artificial islands, installations and structures, it prescribes that any such installations or structures which are abandoned or disused shall be removed to ensure the safety of navigation. Further to this, the IMO resolution A67216 on guidelines and standards for the removal of offshore installations and structures states that abandoned or disused structures are required to be removed, except, that is, where the non-removal is consistent with relevant guidelines and standards. Any decisions permitting any element of the structure to remain in place is on a case-by-case evaluation. The London Convention of 1972 and the 96 Protocol pertaining thereto controls and prevents pollution of the sea by the dumping of waste or other potentially harmful matter. And I think it's fair to say that an umpteen thousand-ton oil rig might be considered to be hazardous to the environment and seen to be as waste. And finally, relevant to those of us in the north, we have the OSPAR Convention for the protection of marine environment of the northeast Atlantic. And again, it prescribes the dumping of offshore installations, but it does allow for the leaving wholly or partly in place of a disused offshore installation, provided that any such operation shall be permitted by a competent authority. Now, obviously, other maritime areas will have their own additional or alternative regulations, but all will draw on established best practice. So, having looked at the requirement to decommission, the legal framework for that, we should consider the problem that we face as an industry. And that problem is how to deal with 30-year-old fixed structures, of which there will be roughly 100 per annum to be disposed of in the next 20 to 30 years. And a key issue is the difficulty of removal in water depths of up to 350 metres. Derogation may be sought to allow disposal in place, but this will be very much the exception rather than the rule. Regardless as to whether an installation is to be partially or fully removed, the period between cessation of production, when the oil stops coming out of the sea, through to final decommissioning, can take several years, during which time the integrity of the navigational marking scheme must be maintained. Of the various installation types in use, we're only really concerned with two types here. That being the steel jacket platform and the concrete gravity base platform. The other types, FPSOs, jackups and semi-submersible rigs, by their very design, are not fixed structures, and they will just move on to the next job on cessation of production at that well. So they're not really an issue. We're looking here at the steel jackets and concrete gravity-based platforms. Steel jackets are far and away the most common